Hey y'all, and welcome to part 2 of the series covering the upcoming title Call of Duty Vanguard. As I mentioned in part 1, the general purpose of the series is to highlight some of the aspects of the Call of Duty series that I've enjoyed over the course of its run that I'd like to see some iteration of with the upcoming title. I feel like the excitement in the community around Call of Duty Vanguard is pretty low right now, especially relative to where we were last year ahead of Black Ops Cold War's announcement, and I think there are probably several reasons for that. However, this video will seek to analyze some of the ways the Call of Duty franchise has chosen to allow players to interact in their games historically that I think has allowed the game to remain fun and engaging going into their 18th main title in the series coming out later this year. The main focus of this critique will be discussing the idea of how COD empowers their players to engage within their game and how the series has evolved over time. So to do a little stage setting first, it's admittedly hard as a developer, I'm sure, to strike a perfect balance in terms of game development between the main campaign, multiplayer gameplay, third mode experiences like zombies, spec ops, etc., and now Warzone. I have found that generally most COD games for me deliver at least one very engaging experience that keeps me coming back to it. Even games like Infinite Warfare or COD World War II have elements in their games like the campaign in IW and the first couple zombies maps like the Final Reich in World War II that make me happy that I got the game to experience it. However, the secret sauce to me in terms of what makes a great Call of Duty game is the ability to permit as much variety of gameplay styles as possible. One thing players of Modern Warfare 2019 and Black Ops Cold War may notice is that the variety of gameplay styles, i.e. camping, sniping, and rushing, are far more prevalent in this game, and with SBMM as a factor, more on this later, you'll likely find yourself in a lobby with players who play a similar style to you, or at least at a similar level of competency, which makes the multiplayer and Warzone experiences somewhat draining to play. Long gone are the days of hopping on COD to blow off some steam and have a casual experience, as the matchmaking system has evolved beyond that to help Activision maximize their player retention. That all said, I do think there are some ways that Call of Duty games have demonstrated innovation in the past that can make the gameplay more unique and give players more dynamic ways to engage in the game. So to start, let's look at some ways multiplayer has stood out over the years and the innovations that they've done to help empower their players. First of all, just so it's a little easier to understand my preferences when it comes to multiplayer, my favorite multiplayer experiences in the series are, in no particular order, Modern Warfare 2, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 4. BO2 stands, put your pitchforks away. I like BO2 as well, it just doesn't crack my personal top 4, I'm sorry. That said, if you look at the Mount Rushmore multiplayer I've just laid out, you'll notice that 3 of them, Modern Warfare 2, Advanced Warfare, and Black Ops 4, all of which had a diverse weapon set that were all viable when competing in the game. This is very different from current titles, let's say Modern Warfare 2019 or Black Ops Cold War, where such a premium is placed on finding the meta weapons and keeping up with the weapon patches and nerfs is a constant research exercise. Shout out to JGod for doing the Lord's work. This kind of variety, meaning tons of redundant attachments and constant changes to weapon strength or weaknesses, in my opinion, is largely filler content. Generally speaking, people tend to only use the best attachments for either short-range or long-range engagements, depending on whether you're playing a game mode like Classic MP or Warzone. And once a gun is fully leveled, there's little reason to use it if all of a sudden it's nerfed into the ground, or if you're not trying to go for mastery camos like Dark Matter or Dark Ether for us zombies folks. So my contention is the amount of development time being focused on putting together all these different attachments and tuning and whatnot should be greatly reduced within multiplayer to simplify the attachment trees and instead focus on ways that make the multiplayer experience way more dynamic. Well, the next logical question, of course, is how do you do that? So the 2 features in recent years, which I will discuss in the context of BO4, that I really enjoyed was the specialist system as well as the manual healing mechanic that was implemented in BO4. Obviously, specialists were introduced into the franchise in the AW, BO3, IW, and BO4 era, but by the time Black Ops 4 was released, I really think they mastered the specialist mechanics. I really like the handheld specialist abilities, for example, Battery's Cluster Grenade, Prophet Seeker Mine, the Reactor Core for Firebreak, and their main special abilities. And it was a definite improvement for the BO3 system, which had a mix of strong and weak specialist abilities. Shout out to Rejack and Hive Mind with the Nomads specialist, which I'm not sure why anyone would use, but at least it was an option, I suppose. But the reason I bring this up is, these abilities being present in the more current titles would have allowed for players to root out a guy sitting in a corner with a fire shotgun, like I'm sure many of you saw in 2019's Modern Warfare title. A lot of people love using the doof. Or punish a guy for dead silencing into a building because you had already laid down a razor wire or barricades in the building. This sort of gameplay experience makes the game more variable from lobby to lobby, from game to game, and forces the player to change their attack approach to taking a fight, which ultimately makes the game way less homogeneous across games and makes it more fun in the long run. Another example of this is the healing mechanic being added in BO4, which I think was a brilliant innovation because it allowed a player to be able to recover from a gunfight if they wanted to play more passively, or it allowed you to be more aggressive. If you could tell a player you're going up against is more passive and trying to run away to heal, that gives you the information you needed to know. You can probably push that guy, because just from reading the kind of playstyle of the other player, you can tell that you're the more confident or the more confident player. This is unlike the way the current abilities like Dead Silence, Stopping Power, etc. were implemented into Modern Warfare 2019, because many times there's almost no way to counter any of those abilities or read someone's kind of movement style to figure out that they have one of these until it's far too late. For this reason, I really think COD Vanguard needs to revisit the idea of having some form of specialists, which they sort of did in World War II with the different division ranks, and this would allow for more organic and varied gameplay. I can only pray that crushed features like Deady and Stopping Power are removed from Warzone come the integration of Call of Duty Vanguard later this year, and that a more balanced system is implemented that allows players to actually be able to counter certain special abilities. I think taking the system they had in World War II and building upon it is a great starting point that would make the multiplayer far less dull to me in terms of longevity of gameplay. Variety of gameplay would benefit zombies as well. Just like everyone else, my favorite zombies game is BO3, and within that game, that had the Gobblegum system, which allowed for all varieties of different kinds of gameplay. If you want to finesse the Rise and Drag, Zetsubo, Gored Krovi, and Revelation boss fights with near-death experience and Perkaholic, you are more than welcome to do that. Do you want a more conventional zombies experience, like going into the boss fight with a Pack-a-Punch, Mustang, and Sally and a PPSH? You can do that too. Allowing players to choose the way they want to play, especially in PvE modes like zombies, is the way to go. Keep players playing your game, and I hope to see more of that in the upcoming title. Now this is a little bit of a less serious suggestion, but I would also accept having the weapon variant system, kind of like AW did, instead of the current blueprint system, as I loved my Obsidian Steed, HBR Insanity, and Speakeasy. But I know this system at the time was pretty RNG, based on how Sledgehammer had these items hidden behind loot boxes at the time. And given the way they've kind of innovated the Battle Pass system to kind of wean away from stuff like that, or putting it behind something you actually have to purchase from the store, I know that that specific system isn't exactly something you can implement in the next Call of Duty game. But perhaps a more World War II style system using credits earned in-game from gameplay to unlock certain blueprints or variants that would integrate into the game more seamlessly in the modern kind of game development style. That would be awesome, I think. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you want to have some way to be able to earn these blueprints other than, playing different like 1v1 gunfight modes or something that's, a little more organically earned within playing the game. Now, the next topic, I mentioned it in the last video, and I really know it's a buzzword in the community that no one really likes to hear, but skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM. Please, Activision, have mercy. So, we know it's not going anywhere, and even in games that I like, it's been present. So, I played a fair bit of BO4 multiplayer. I think I got to like Prestige Master level 430 or something close to that territory, I can't remember. But in a lot of the games I played towards the second half of that game's cycle, I ran into this guy, Sir Streaksalon, a fair bit in lobbies. And because I was curious what his stats looked like, because BO4 didn't have an in-game stat engine, and he was known to dominate a lobby or two that I was in, I looked him up on COD Tracker, and I figured out that he was number 8 on the PlayStation list of owners for Call of Duty Black Ops 4 for kills. I was like, holy smokes. Like, I guess my rank in that game would indicate that I should be in a lobby with this guy, but it was very clear that SBMM while not as rampant as it is in current titles, was a factor here too, because I ran into this guy many times. Enough to remember his name 3 years later to look it up, so there was definitely a factor of skill-based matchmaking within BO4 that kind of grouped players that played a lot together versus players who may just play occasionally with friends or whenever they felt like booting up every now and again. So what can be done here? Well, I think a simple fix would be to remove that lobbies disband or separate you into a different lobby after every 2 or 3 matches or so. Because if I get sorted into a demon lobby, I'll probably play a game or 2 and then re-queue to find another game. But if I find a lobby I like, I might get a game or 2 in there under the current system only to be auto-filtered out of it because I was able to play better, which just punishes the players for being effective at the game. If you want to back out after being chokeslammed in a lobby by Sir Streaks-a-Lot, I'd really like to know that lobby that I'm going to be hopping into next isn't going to be just the exact same thing with different players. I'd rather have the ability to be able to control that myself and not just trust the game to fix that for me. Especially given how crossplay and cross-leveling works across different titles. Say you're a big fan of Modern Warfare, but you only play Black Ops Cold War or Warzone occasionally. I'm sure your skill in Modern Warfare sorts at you into certain lobbies in Black Ops Cold War and Warzone as a result of that performance in another title. So if you're really good at one game, or log a lot of hours in one game, it's, I'm sure, demoralizing to hop over to another one and get to be sorted with the cream of the crop of other players. So my contention here is to fine-tune SBMM to be present to protect new players, sure. But beyond like 1 or 2 days of gameplay, it should be tuned to allow more varied lobbies in terms of player skill and to help focus on more ping-related sorting than skill-related sorting, just so players have more control over the lobbies. Just bring the fun back, please, I beg. So with that, those are 2 of my proposals to help empower the players going forward into Call of Duty Vanguard. Give us a balanced specialist system that creates dynamic gameplay experiences, and help tune SBMM to accomplish Activision's goal of player retention, but also to allow for more player control over their lives. I have a couple of additional video topics in the works for this series, but if there's anything that I didn't cover in this one or the previous that you want to see in Call of Duty Vanguard, please feel free to leave a like and drop a comment down in the comment section to say what of your favorite features from COD titles of the past that you want to see in the most recent installment. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.